Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Bhagavani Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgachadra Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanarvana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON DVT Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Janitai Vola Pimanande All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuktale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Ditam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Scha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Saptakantana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suchadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vansakalpa Teribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Param Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasaya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Sri Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Surabhyaya Namaha.
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 Mukham karoti vasanam pangum langayate girim yat kripat maham vande Sri Guru Vinataranam. Yat kripat maham vande Sri Guru Vinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That person carrying water, this neighbor getting water once a day.
Yes.
We are continuing our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4. Yes. Chapter 13. The descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. And today we are reading text number 12. Correct, huh? Huh? 12. Yeah. Svarvitir.
Svarvitir.
Vatarasyasta. Bharya Sutta.
Bharya Sutta.
Sad.
Sad.
Atmajan.
Atmajan.
Pushparanam.
Pushparanam.
Tigmaketum.
Tigmaketum.
Cha.
Cha.
Isham.
Isham.
Urjam.
Urjam.
Vasum.
Vasum.
Jayam.
Jayam.
Svarvitir Vatsarasyasta.
Svarvitir Vatsarasyasta.
Aryasutta Saratmajan.
Aryasutta Saratmajan.
Pushparnam Tigmaketum Cha.
Pushparnam Tigmaketum Cha.
Isham Urjam Vasum Jayam.
Isham Urjam Vasum Jayam.
Svarvitir Vatsarasyasta.
Svarvitir Vatsarasreshta.
Bharyasutta Saratmajan.
Bharyasutta Saratmajan.
Pushparnam Tigmaketum Cha.
Pushparnam Tigmaketum Cha.
Isham Urjan Vasum Jayan.
Isham Urjam Vasam Jayan.
Svarvitir Vatsarasyasta.
Svarvitir Vatsarasreshta.
Bharyasutta Saratmajan.
Bharyasutta Saratmajan.
Pushparanam Tigmaketum Cha.
Pushparnam Tigmaketum Cha.
Isham Urjam Vasum Jayam.
Isham Urjam Vasam Jayan.
Svarviti.
Sarvatihi.
Svarviti.
Sarvati.
Vatsarasya.
Vatsarasya.
Of King Vatsara.
Of King Vatsara.
Ishta.
Ishta.
Very dear.
Very dear.
Bharya.
Bharya.
Wife.
Wife.
Asuta.
Asuta.
Gave birth to.
Gave birth to.
Sat.
Sat.
6.
6.
Atmajan.
Atmajan.
Sons.
Sons.
Pushparnam.
Pushparnam.
Pushparna.
Pushparna.
Tigmaketum.
Tigmaketum.
Tigmaketu.
Tigmaketu.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Isham,
Isham,
Isha,
Isha,
Urjam,
Urjam,
Urja,
Urja,
Vasum,
Vasum,
Vasu,
Vasu,
Jayam,
Jayam,
Jaya.
Jaya.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. How many people come to get what? How many people come?
3 families.
3 families. So translation, King Vatsara had a very dear wife whose name was Swarviti, and she gave birth to 6 sons named Pushparna, Tigmaketu, Isha, Urja, Vasu, and Jaya. Kind of repeat after me. King Vatsara
King Vatsara
had a very dear wife
had a very dear wife
whose name was Swarviti,
whose name was Sarvati,
and she gave birth
and she gave birth
to 6 sons
to 6 sons
named Pushparna,
named Pushparna,
Tigmaketu,
Tigmaketu,
Isha,
Isha,
Urja,
Urja,
Vasu,
Vasu,
and Jaya.
and Jaya.
Purport. Vatsara's wife is mentioned here as Ista, which means worshipable. In other words, it appears that Vatsara's wife had all good qualities. For example, she was always very faithful and obedient and affectionate to her husband. She had all good qualities for managing household affairs. If both the husband and wife are endowed with good qualities and live peacefully, then nice children take birth, and thus the whole family is happy and prosperous. Translation again, King Vatsara had a very dear wife whose name was Swarviti, and she gave birth to 6 sons named Pushparna, Tigmaketu, Isha, Urja, Vasu, and Jaya. For the next quite a few texts, actually there are different, it's like family lineage rather, that we can read after a few minutes possibly, but Srila Prabhupada gives a short purport but significant. In the Vedic culture, just like we have been speaking about the importance of villages. Villages are like the norm. They are what is meant to be the standard, the ideal place for the vast majority of people to live, so that more easily, more simply, they can meet their material necessities of life, and they can be more peaceful by being less overwhelmed and preoccupied by so many things that are very very much distracting in urban areas. So in a similar way that village life is a standard, is a norm, which in modern day, especially what we call, modern developed countries, Canada is considered a developed country, USA is considered a developed country, a number of countries in Europe are considered developed countries. What is it? They have the 6G or something. Anyways, they have so many things. because they have like very high standard of living, people get very good salary, and they have, they're well off, materially speaking. Even that is debatable, of course. But anyways, and he's coming back with another empty pot. How many pots do they take? I hope somebody's regulating. He's just not coming. He just took one pot away. So
I'll talk to later.
yeah, somebody has to regulate. Otherwise, we're gonna have to send our brahmacharis to hunt for water, and it might not be so easy. Everything should be regulated. That's one of the key points in Vedic culture also. So the point I was trying to make is that in the same way that, for one family, one big pot like that is enough for one day. Not meant to be for bathing. So in the same way that, similar way that villages are the standard, what is being referred to here is family life. Husband, wife, children. In modern day, in our modern day we refer to that as the family nucleus. The family nucleus. Arjuna was expressing fear and hesitation to take up this responsibility of fighting the battle of Kurukshetra, mainly because he felt that this would disrupt families, because women would be no longer protected, their husbands and some of their sons dying in the battle of Kurukshetra, which of course ended up happening, but it was the arrangement of providence. So the qualities of Vatsara's wife are being described here, and it's very similar to what Narada Muni also describes in the 7th canto. We will see later on in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Narada Muni, who is a brahmachari, describes the qualities of Matajis. How can a brahmachari speak about Matajis? So, Narada Muni is, of course, a self-realized soul, regardless of which ashram one belongs to. Jai Krishna Tattvaveta Se Guru Hoy. Whoever is knowing the science of Krishna consciousness can be a teacher. Guru means a teacher. And it's very interesting because in the very beginning of his presentation, when he begins to explain to Yudhisthira Maharaj, who wanted to hear about dharma, specifically about varnashrama dharma, in the very first few sentences that he begins to speak, Narada Muni explains that I have heard this, the knowledge I will speak to you, I have heard actually from Bhagavan. So it means that we can speak on any subject matter, and we can speak on these subject matters authoritatively if we simply repeat what has been spoken by those in authority. And of course, all of that knowledge comes from the highest authority, the original speaker of Vedic knowledge, the Lord Brahma, at the beginning of every creation. That's how Vedic knowledge is revealed actually from within the heart, from Lord Krishna directly to Lord Brahma. And so Lord Brahma then begins to share this knowledge, and the first person that he shares with, of course, is Narada Muni. So we have in modern day society these two major, we could say, deviations. These two major deviations which are a cause of so much social disruption and family disruption as well, because more and more people are no longer living in villages, and also less and less people are living within the family unit. Even there are people in the Western countries who propagate the ideology that actually family, that's the thing of the past. Villages, this is antiquated. This is backwards. We're now liberated. Souls, modern liberation. We are, we have established, equality for one and all, and freedom of speech and freedom of action, freedom of thought, freedom of everything. Meanwhile, we are actually destroying many of these basic principles that are the very foundation of a culture, of an ideal culture, which is the Vedic culture. And once again, the very important point which we as devotees need to grasp, how this is a permanent culture. This is an unchanging culture because it is based on perfect ideology. And that's why Narada Muni will very clearly, very boldly present to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he will be describing what is an ideal society and what is ideal family life. So we have concepts, we have principles. We're not like, the vast majority of people who don't have this knowledge, they will constantly be adjusting and changing their ideology because they're on the mental platform. So devotees, even after a very short time of being in the movement, if one simply hears nicely, he can begin to speak, with authority, simply by repeating what he has mentioned. And therefore, part of our duty and responsibility, as explained by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, is to bring back, to re-establish these eternal principles of Sanatana Dharma. That's why Sanatana Dharma is called Sanatana Dharma. It is based on eternal concepts and principles. So here it very clearly makes reference to how his wife, so many names to remember in the Bhagavatam. Swadviti, King Vatsala's wife, Swadviti. She is described here as Ista, which means worshipable. So that is also explained actually by Narada Muni later on in the 7th canto, how a faithful wife who serves very nicely in the home, and here some of the qualities are mentioned. She is described as worshipable because she was always very faithful, very obedient, and very affectionate to her husband. And she had all good qualities for managing household affairs. In the Western countries, the concept of cleaning a house every day is no longer there. You might have observed or whatever, but I've had that personal experience. It's like, in a village, of course, we shouldn't point the finger there. We're also guilty here. Every morning, it is in the village, if anyone has ever lived in the village or visited, spent a few days in the village, one of the first activities, besides Mangalarti, of course, most people don't go to Mangalarti in the village unless they're devotees. But one of the first activities for most people in the village, what is it?
Cleaning.
Jharu. Jharu. Yeah. Broom. Handmade broom, not purchased brooms. Plastic. That it breaks, you throw it away, and then your whole place becomes garbage. These coconut trees, they make. I think they make the zaru, no? Somebody sent a small video how to make these sticks. Did you see that?
I only saw.
Huh?
Purushottam Prabhu was making.
He was making it.
I
No,
said,
there's a plate full of holes. Were you doing that?
no, it's different.
Not parampara. Very ingenious, there's a plate with some holes in it. It's just like when we have abhishek at the end, you put and then all of these things are cut, and then you put it in, and you take it out, automatically just... We'll send you the video for any further attempt that you might like to make. There are many tricks like that, just like someone shared, I think some of you might have seen, how they used to have this, when they used to go on yatras. So instead of carrying, big box of all kinds of pots, they had everything in one container, right? Probably had a name, no? Huh? Well, like when Prabhupada went to the Western world, he carried this, what is it, 3-layer cooking?
Container.
Huh?
Cooking pot.
Yeah, but
Cooker.
yeah, cooker, that is one thing, but I'm talking about what is, well, it is also a cooker, but of a different, it's like it's about this high. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
It
there
has
in
16 parts in it.
it is in there in Prabhupada Vrindavan, Prabhupada quarters.
Is that right? Yeah. It has 16 different containers. They all fit in, it's like very scientifically made. So Vedic culture is like that.
I have one video.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Should we allow these boys to do that?
No.
Then? If you don't tell them, they'll just... This is not a... We haven't made this Rajmarg for them to ride around them. So, any section of the Bhagavatam that we are reading, we get some glimpses of what is meant to be the ideal lifestyle. And this ideal lifestyle is repeated again and again, and we are being reminded that actually if we follow this way of doing things, if we develop these different qualities that are meant to be there within a family, the different qualities that a husband should have, the different qualities that a wife should have, then it makes for a very conducive and ideal situation. So, family life, which is, especially in the 20th century, we have seen, and it continues in this 21st century, practically speaking, a complete breakdown of family nucleus, isn't it? To such an extent that it is, as Prabhupada explained, that is there in the Bhagavatam also, this is a Varna Sankara, it's creating Varna Sankara situation where children are born without being wanted, they are unwanted children, they are, and parents sometimes will even admit to their son when they have an argument, you were actually an accident. I didn't want to have you as my child. Somehow it happened. So this creates all kinds of social and personal, individual, psychological problems, and therefore people are in so many different ways facing all kinds of challenges, and therefore even in simple things life becomes very very complex, very complicated, and unfortunately this kind of situation makes it very difficult for most people to even begin to understand the importance of spiritual life. I'll just read a few of the other verses because I think most of them don't have purports, and they are just to get a little ahead of ourselves, so that tomorrow when we have our class, there'll be one with a purport. So text 13, I'll just read the translation. So here it was mentioned how there were 6 sons to Swadhaviti gave 6 sons to Vatsara, and one of them was Pushparna, one of the 6 sons. So text 13 is telling that this Pushparna had 2 wives named Prabha and Dosha. Dosha. Dosha means fault, no? Prabha had 3 sons named Pratar, Bhajandinam, and Sayam. Yeah. Text 14. Dosha had 3 sons, Pradosha, Nishita, that's pretty close, huh? And Vyusta. Vyusta's wife was named Pushkarini, and she gave birth to a very powerful son named Sarvateja. Teja, yeah, Sarvateja. So all powerful. Sarvateja. Then text 15 and 16, just a translation. Sarvateja's wife, Akuti, gave birth to a son named Chakshusha, who became the 6th Manu. These are not ordinary sons. Manu. At the end of the Manu millennium, Navala, the wife of Chakshusha Manu, gave birth to the following faultless sons. People used to have faultless sons, not like in Kali Yuga. So who were these faultless sons? Puru, Kusta, Trita, Jumna, Satyavan, Rita, Vrata, Agnistoma, Atiratra, Prajumna, Shibi, and Ulmuka. A few more verses here. Text 17. Of the 12 sons, Ulmuka begot 6 sons and his wife Pushkarini. They were all very good sons, and their names were Anga, Sumana, oh this is a Sumana, yeah, Kati, Kratu, Angira, and Gaya. We've heard some of these names. Then text 18, the wife of Anga, Sunita, gave birth to a son named Vena. Okay, we know about Vena, who was very crooked. Up to now, all the sons were very good. Now somehow this one crooked one is coming. The saintly king Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad character, and he left home and kingdom and went out to the forest. Early retirement. Early Vanaprastha. 1920. Okay. So 1920 we'll keep it for tomorrow because yeah, it's going to speak a little bit more about King Vena in the context of what happens when one has a bad son who is not actually qualified to take up the responsibility of becoming a king. We've heard the story possibly before of King Vena, who although crooked was enthroned, but then only for a short time, and then things happen. Some comments or questions on this? Someone else is coming with another container. They have a whole contract going on here.
I told Samantha to inform everyone that they are allowed to take one pot water.
Well, you didn't make it very clear.
He came now. I informed him now also.
Well, somebody else is coming here now.
I will. He's here only. Right after the class, I will again stress.
But the 3 families, no?
Yeah, she's from same family.
Any comments? Please.
Here are some names, Maharaj, Prabha, Madhya and Sayan. We say Prabha means morning, and Madhya means afternoon, and Sayan.
Madhyam means middle, afternoon.
Sayan means Sandhya, evening.
Oh, I see, okay, yeah.
Actually, these names are came from Bhagavatam.
Okay, right.
Prabha, Madhya, and Sayan.
Yeah, when one spends more time, as previously people were spending all of their time actually, that was, there were no other books. Before, even within Kali Yuga, we hear, when we study history, like the Middle Ages, they call the Middle Ages, whatever books were available